To start, with the very basics, a lot to go through here tonight as the president is still speaking at the time of this interview, but some of your initial thoughts and reaction to what he had to say.
Well, my first reaction is that it's shameful he's using the White House for a political event. This is a people's house, and unlike any time in history, this has never been used for politics or partisan affairs. So that's the first thing that strikes me.
It's a lot too about visuals, and oftentimes these conventions are, and I have to ask you about the visual, the look here of this audience. I believe the estimate was about 1,500 people, but obviously there is very little social distancing, and very few people are wearing masks. What kind of message do you think that sends?
Well, the people all across this country, and especially in Las Vegas, have been sacrificing. They're wearing masks. Our businesses are shut down. Schools aren't opening up. People are social distancing, and this kind of throws it in their face. What has the sacrifice been for? I think it's about 2,000 people sitting close, very few wearing masks, and a couple of the different groups, when they're recognized and know they're going to be on camera, take the mask off if one or two members there are wearing one. If you look at the whole cabinet sitting on the front row, the only person wearing a mask is the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
Throughout much of his speech, and even speeches leading up to tonight's speech, President Trump has consistently tried to cast himself as the law and order president, and has said that if Mr. Biden wins, that there will be lawlessness in the streets and cities of America. What is your reaction to that?
Well, two things. One, in this speech, he has repeatedly referred to Joe Biden. This is as though he's the challenger and Joe Biden is the incumbent. Look at previous speeches. Joe Biden didn't refer to Trump. Bush didn't refer to Obama. Kerry didn't refer to Bush. This is something that's totally turned on its head. But this law enforcement argument is just full of holes. We have said repeatedly, and Joe Biden has said this publicly and over again, he does not support defunding of the police department. He does not condone violence and property and damage and danger to human lives. He respects peaceful demonstrations, which is part of our Constitution, the First Amendment. But to argue that he is the law enforcement president that's going to keep us all safe is really not going to land very well, because people just don't believe it.
What message do you think Americans are taking away from this? I know it's sort of hard. We find ourselves in a very partisan time, and as far as independents are concerned, if I could sort of ask you to wear that hat for a moment, what do you think they might have heard tonight that might have potentially attracted them, and what do you think they might have heard tonight that would sort of send them into Biden's camp?
Well, President Trump has played to his base, and that's not a majority. Maybe he'd like to add some nonpartisans, but I don't see him being attracted by this speech. Even if you don't disagree with what he says, it's been rambling. It's all over the place. He's tried to attack Joe Biden with different kinds of things, none of which has stuck. And it's all been as though everything is fine. He's virtually ignored the virus, which is very serious. He's talking about economic numbers that existed before the pandemic. And I can just go by what people in my district tell me. I get about 100 calls a day. They are concerned about their unemployment, about their health insurance, about meeting their rent, about small businesses staying in existence. He didn't give any hope to those folks or any kind of specifics about what he's going to do different from what he's done in the past, which is reward his rich friends with tax breaks.
And let me ask you one final question, Congresswoman. It's a political forecasting one, but obviously the then candidate Trump did not win Nevada in 2016. But in 2020, indications are that perhaps Nevada may be a possible state, although it may be a long shot when you look at registered voters and the clear advantage that Democrats have. But are you concerned? Do you think there is a chance that President Trump could win Nevada?
Well, he is certainly trying to win Nevada. He's appealed to us through the Yucca Mountain. He's featured some Nevadas in his convention, but the demographics have shifted. He's not offered any kind of plan that would really help us out of this economic state. You know, we've got one of the highest unemployments in the country, and it's double the national average. 1 in 3 people are associated with tourism and hospitality, and until we feel safe about traveling, that economy is not going to come back. The two are tied. But I'll tell you this, we are not going to take anything for granted. We don't want to wake up the day after the election like we did in 2016, thinking that Hillary Clinton was going to win and be disappointed. We're going to fight for every single vote. We're registering voters. We're phone banking. We're doing early voter turnout. So we're going to fight for it. And I think Nevada will deliver for Joe Biden.
Congresswoman Titus, thanks again for your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.